Okay, we are back. I'm actually retaping this one because the microphone was not plugged in when I did it the first time. Anyway, we left last time. We have all sorts of problems. I kind of rushed through the last scene, and I apologize for that. There wasn't too much information that came through at the end, but I probably shouldn't have rushed. I probably should try to cut the video short and stop beforehand. I just didn't realize that the sequence of events in the Lion Tour Hall was quite as extensive as apparently it was. So what we are doing is the only one note that I wanted to say was that we actually picked up the Paladin ability to heal for our honorable actions in defending Rakeesh in front of Raja. So we are heading now to the Simbani Village, and one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the dialogue here. Rakeesh is saying how he's happy to be back in this area, but there's some conversation about being a paladin that comes up, and for some of you who are watching this, you may be watching this because you're interested in the paladin storyline. You've never seen it before, so I don't want to skip too much through that. He's just talking about how most of the animals will leave us alone, and that's pretty much true. There were other animals, however, more appropriately the monsters in this game, who of course will be attacking us, and he talks about his paladin ability to avoid danger, which is something we don't have yet, but we will pick up at some point, and sort of works to help us avoid danger, I believe. I can't remember entirely. And he's telling us that as a paladin, we gain more righteousness, and as we do that, we have the ability to do more and more things. I think, and there's actually 4 paladin abilities, at least in this game, that we can pick up. And he's telling us how he's been a paladin for a long time, at least since the last demon attack. And if there is a demon attack this time, we have to definitely do what we can to push back against them and resist their intent to try to create war amongst the population of the land of Tarna. So he's telling us how we're a new paladin, and as we already know, each act of kindness, each act of honorable act gives us new abilities, or pushes us to new abilities, I should say. So the first thing we get is the sword that glows. If you can recall from our brief encounter with the ant, even though we weren't able to strike too many blows against him for some reason and make contact, we did have the flaming sword, and it will come in handy later on. I guess maybe we have to play around a little bit more with the fighting sequences, but it is actually very helpful in this game and the other ones as well. Alright, so it's becoming dark, and we're not going to talk too much more until we wake up the next morning, and it'll actually let it get dark and have the sun rise, so that'll take a few seconds, but we can create campfires too. That's why I picked up the tinder box, and we'll see that. It's not too essential, but it prevents us from being attacked by enemies while we sleep. But being a paladin / fighter, that's not a huge deal for us unless we just don't really want to deal with close combat at the time. Okay, so this is the Simbani Village over here. It's kind of hard to make out, but it does take obviously over a day to get there, so it's not like we can just go back within a day between the city of Tarna and the Simbani Village, and so we have to be careful so we don't miss any key events in either one of the locations if we're planning on being in one place or the other. Alright, so he's just telling us as we gain experience, we're going to pick up some new paladin abilities. Okay, and so the first one of them is the gift of healing, which is the next one, which we actually did pick up, and it actually uses up stamina, I believe. And because there's no vigor potions in this game, it's hard to really recoup stamina outside of resting. I think you can use water from this pool here, but you do have to have enough stamina in order to actually heal yourself or others, so that becomes somewhat important. And that's not an actual ability, but the ability here is the ability to sense danger, which Rakeesh talked about, and we don't have that ability yet, but hopefully, as we behave honorably, we'll pick that up soon. And you'll be able to protect ourselves using, I believe, yes, we will be able to have a honor shield, which kind of surrounds us in this game. In Quest for Glory 4, I actually think it's more of almost a magic spell. You can actually use it offensively, if I recall correctly, and kind of shoot the shield against your enemies. Here, it just kind of surrounds you and protects you. It looks pretty cool. I don't know how effective it is, but it's somewhat helpful, I guess. And essentially, the more honorable we become, the better our abilities will be, too. I guess may have been some of the reason why our sword wasn't making contact with the ant in that last battle. Anyway, he can't tell us too much more about being a paladin right now because we have reached the Simbani Village. Okay, so we are at the Simbani Village. He's greeting him, and I guess that's sort of Swahili-like language. I'm not sure if it is actually Swahili or even that close, but I would assume so because it's supposed to be an African theme to this game. Interesting that he can speak English and Swahili, and they can understand us as well. I don't know. Anyway, it's, I think, just an attempt to make it look a little more authentic, and he's introducing us as a brave warrior, and we will greet him politely. Hopefully that helps us a little with the honor. Okay, and he says hello to us, essentially, in his language. And he's introducing us to all these huts and things, and it actually doesn't look like that big of a camp, but we actually can't even go to that many areas, which is one of the things I mentioned, just kind of lack of explorable areas is something that's a pet peeve of mine about this game. But as you can see, there's a few areas we can check out, and we'll do so. But we actually can't go to all these huts, and I guess it doesn't make much of a difference since we wouldn't really know the people who live there. Alright, and Rakeesh is just saying that he is honored to be at the city, and we're going to try to head off so we can see. There's sort of a cut sequence that comes up. I don't want to miss it, so let's, I think we have enough time to pretty much get through it, but let's move expeditiously. And this is Uhura and Simba, and you can see there's very small sprites in the middle of this screen, so you can see the whole area. And she's greeting us. And Rakeesh says that it looks like they're happy to be home. She is happy to be home, and we are going to go talk to their leader called the Paladin. And we're going to have a bit of a sequence where we don't say too much. It's pretty much Rakeesh and him talking about the situation, and she's introducing herself and introducing both of us, though Rakeesh actually knows the Paladin from beforehand. And he's saying it's good to see the Simbani leader again. And he says it's good to see Rakeesh again, so they are friendly. And we are going to politely introduce ourselves. This is another area where you can be kind of a jerk and lose some honor points if you really want to play around with it, just like with Raja's Palace, but we're not going to do that. We greet him, he greets us, and then Rakeesh says that he's going to try to broker peace between the Lepermen and the Simbani, saying he swore his honor. And he's saying, hey, if you're willing to have the Lepermen bow to me, then we can have peace. Otherwise, it doesn't look too good. And Rakeesh is inquiring why there's such hostility between the two tribes. And the Laban goes into a bunch of reasons. They don't really trust them. They're sneaky. He doesn't like that they use magic. And he doesn't think they engage in a fair fight. So the two of the tribes haven't really liked each other that much for a while. And now, not only did they not trust him in general, they actually supposedly stole their spear of death, and for that, there's going to be some consequences. And Rakeesh, I guess, making good use of his degree in peace and conflict resolution, is trying to broker a different solution to the problem. But we see that the Laban isn't really too interested, but Rakeesh would like to have the leaders of all the parties be able to meet with each other. And the Simbani leader is not too interested, as we've mentioned before. And that's pretty much all he has to say. Sometimes you get an opportunity to speak briefly. We didn't in this case, and it doesn't seem to really cost us too much in the future. We just have to behave honorably. Otherwise, there's going to be some problems. And we're going to walk back to the hut, and we have enough time to finish this up, fortunately. Sometimes you don't, but he's saying, is it good to be back in your hut? She's happy to be back here, and he says Laban was happy to see us, but he seemed a little offended. I guess he's just not interested in peace, and so I'm just going to pause for 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I probably shouldn't announce that I'm going to pause, since you can't really tell otherwise for the most part. Anyway, we just finished up that conversation with them, just talking about the Laban and sort of the stress that he is dealing with, and why he was a little unhappy, and why Uhura is happy to be back in her hut. So we are almost out of time in this video. I'm not going to go into talking to these guys. There's not too much we can talk to them about for the time being. There's a small cut sequence that comes up, but I think I want to save that for, the next video. And hope you enjoyed our brief journey through the savannah. and hopefully we'll get to some more information in the next video. So hang tight, and I hope to see you next time.